morning, fellow Toastmasters. Now that we've heard some beautifully prepared speeches, let's go on to the evaluation segment. I hope all the evaluators have promised to be nice and critically and considerably provide positive evaluation. Our first evaluator is Toastmaster Vidya, the body language expert. Toastmaster Vidya is going to be evaluating Toastmaster Thomas on his speech.
Thank you. Toastmaster Thomas, his speech was on entertaining the audience. It was an after-dinner speech. He had a time limit of about 10 to 15 minutes. And some of the questions that were there in his evaluation sheet, I just want to read them out so that the audience knows what I'm evaluating against. One was whether the audience was entertained. The second was whether the audience attention was captured. And what was the theme of the talk? Was it easy for the audience to understand that? And how effectively did the speaker deliver the jokes and the stories and the anecdotes? Because the objective was to deliver the stories and the jokes and the anecdotes to keep the audience attention. And did they fit in the talk's theme? And the last was, what is your overall impression of the speaker's approach to entertaining the audience? So did anybody doze off in the talk? No, right? So that speaks to that and answer that question, that it was an entertaining speech. That was the idea of the speech. So everybody were full of attention and they were listening to T.M. Thomas. And the way he captured it is with stories and anecdotes. And the main thing that really captured for me was how that professor came and ate that cockroach out of that dish. That was all I was thinking about. So there was seriousness to the speech that he gave, because it kind of talked about rural Kerala and the time where we didn't have telephones and we had only newspapers, and history. He talked about history where he brought the assassination in point of view. For the youngsters here, you might have not known or forgotten, but it was very apt in the sense, it was very interesting, even for the youngsters maybe, to understand how life was at that time. So all that is very, very powerful in an entertaining speech. For me, it was 5 out of 5 in getting the audience attention. And many of these things, everything is, I think he did a great job in capturing everything. His stories and anecdotes, everything were very effective. And the most important thing is his fluency in English language and his sincerity in which he delivers the speech. It makes the audience come close to his topic, in the sense they live his moment, and that is his advantage. The one recommendation I would give you, T.M. Thomas, is I felt that a little organization would have helped. When you started the speech, you spoke about you gave a good premise to the theme. We all understood what you're talking about. You addressed the right person, and then you were talking about the venue and the occasion and everything. And then you went and said, I'm going to talk about the hostel life. And then after that, you digressed a little and talked more about the history again, about Kennedy and all of that. Whereas it would have been great if you had brought the hostel life into picture and talked about the anecdotes you talked about of the hostel life. That would have brought more focus and to the point. That was all that I had. Otherwise, a great entertaining speech, and good luck. Thank you.
Our next evaluator is Arvind's evaluator, Toastmaster Thomas. One of the first few speeches I heard about Toastmaster Thomas, I really loved the vocal variety he had. Even if you're a little sleepy because it's a Sunday morning, the minute Toastmaster Thomas gets on stage, you wake up listening to him go up and then down. You can't lose attention when he's on stage. When I asked him why he likes to be an evaluator, he said evaluator is a serious responsibility to the speaker and to the audience. May I invite Toastmaster Thomas?
Thank you, G. Good morning once again, fellow Toastmasters and the guests that we have today. My target speaker, Arvind, as usual, delivered a brilliant speech. Serious. I counted at least 8 full mark items, such as rhetoric devices, use of stage, voice variety. I have instances of how he used the double octave in one sentence. I have. Vocabulary was fantastic, impeccable language, well-planned structure, and stories that stuck, unlike your title indication, and there was some visuals too. Now, second part, I will deal with the structure as I saw it. You had an opening, like a jadugar, like a magician, you pulled out something, it snatched our attention. There was fizz. Then you moved on to products that failed and corrected yourself to say products that are different purpose. Then you talked about the powerful, famous story of 3M's failed product. You brought in the mystery of she, the female element came in. Wondered, some people wondered, various degrees of wonderment. And then you talked about something that you know yourself better than any of us, namely the Anthony Raj story. And you ended with the message, the central message, very powerfully repeated so that it was memorized. When you talked about you are not a failure, but meant to be for a different purpose. Complete story. Now, I must also talk about this in the context of CC8. You know about the objectives of CC8. In the context of CC8, some observations, speculations, I can't be sure. 1, 3 products. Coca-Cola spent over the years billions of rupees to say Coke means red. Seeing Coca-Cola in black and white was, a little difficult for me. It's not Coke for me. But of course, it will cost you more money. Sticky note, very well demonstrated. I like it most when the man in black stuck yellow sticky note on his chest. Playfulness, and being a master of colors, he knows that the maximum contrast is black against yellow. It struck me. Thought was, when your sticky note imitated your caption, possibly you could have pulled out a joke, And Anthony Raj's book, since it is CC8, Arvind, I was looking for that book. Since I'm also a traveler, I was trying to see what was on the cover. So it was an opportunity, a central opportunity in the visual cue. And after all, it's all like TT speeches. We start with the message, we repeat the topic, then we go on to tell our own story. So in other words, as a speech, it was impeccable. I have no suggestion for you. No suggestion. Full marks. CC8, possibly, this would have been interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Thomas. Our next evaluator is the funny guy of the club. I remember when I was still a guest at Toastmasters, he gave one of the best prepared speeches about how he created an engineering book that helped his entire college cheat through class. Tushar is an IT engineer working for Cognizant. With regard to being an evaluator, he said it makes him listen to the speech intently and critically, which he doesn't do just being a listener. Hence, being an evaluator forces him to learn something about speech. Not sure if it's fun, but he is happy to learn how to evaluate people better. He's also a little bit scared, and I find that very humble, because he's scared if he doesn't give good feedback. I'm sure, Tushar, you're going to be amazing.
Good morning once again. Good morning. And especially to my target speaker, Gopika. Namaste. CC5 is about body language. So generally people they create a story, because in story you have a lot of option of putting dramatics, emotions. But Gopika took a different path. She didn't have a story. She didn't, I mean, story in the usual sense. A boy, girl meets and married, not kind of that kind of. It was a different story. So kudos to her for that, following a different path than usual. Usually, I have seen people using a story as a CC5 speech. Now, coming back to evaluating your speech on the parameters, the objectives. Use stance, movement, gestures, facial expression, eye contact to express your message and achieve your speech purpose. Now, your speech message was about prejudice, and that was well received because of the body language, because of the stance, because of the vocal variety, the way you slowed down when you said your knees came, frantically, and you slowed down, and then you used, when you were using this gripping, or when you use that phrase, small drops of water makes a mighty ocean. Those expression, body language, made the message stick to our mind. It was so powerful. Then second, again, make your body language smooth and natural. Nowhere in the speech I felt that it was unnatural. The way you were moving, the way your hand was talking to us, everything was natural. Your facial expression, the way you looked at these people, you didn't even leave these people, you looked at them, everyone. And it was very natural. It was a natural flow. Now, on basis of CC5, full marks. Now, going back to other criteria like CC2, CC3 and CC4. So, language, obviously I don't have anything to say. You are expert on that. It was immaculate, as Thomas has said about Arvind. About organization. Organization, I felt, was a bit weak, especially the closing part. I felt you were talking about criminal jurisprudence and suddenly you ended. There was a bit abruptness to that. It was not a natural flow. So that is one of my suggestion. Probably you can look at the organization of your speech and make it more natural. Second point I wanted to bring out is you were slouching too much. Okay, and it's again just my point of view. The slouching too much is, it was sometimes not in line with what you were saying. So probably you can avoid that and you can have this broad stance what Vidya was speaking about. You can avoid too much of slouching. Overall, it was a good speech, and thanks, and looking forward to hearing a lot.
Thank you, Tushar. Our next evaluator is the Salman Khan of Toastmasters, of Medley Toastmasters. So he likes to quote another Khan, and he says, "My name is Khan and I'm not a terrorist. My name is Arvind and I am an evaluator though." He says an evaluator is a wonderful role. If the meeting is a cricket match, you have to bat, bowl, field. Here you have to listen, write, speak, motivate and criticize. He feels it transforms us holistically as a Toastmaster. Another thing that he also mentioned is he loves to kill people on stage. Toastmaster Arvind, looking forward to your kills.
Good morning, Toastmasters. Good morning. My target speaker Arjun, you sparkle the entire room with smiles. A big round of applause for us. I believe if this video is released in YouTube, you'll be like the Ramanan of Rain, you'll be like the Soup Boys God. The God of Soup Single Boys. Man, even I had this opinion, okay, whenever I meet my love of life, I'm gonna get married. You said, that doesn't happen, my dear friend. You persuaded us with your humor. You persuaded us Do not wait for your love. Make the parents do that part. A very good, wonderfully delivered, humorous speech. A big round of applause for that. I would say you were a very good humorous speech designer. Every 15 minutes you cracked a joke, you made the audience in the same mode, you maintained the same mode for the audience. There were smiles everywhere. And the best part is you communicated to connect. You didn't speak dialogues. You were not raw, so powerful, raw. But you communicated, you connected with the audience. You didn't target your speech to a particular set of teenagers alone. You involved the parents, you involved all generations in your speech. A very well written and well structured speech. A big round of applause for that. And I really love the part where you said, where you had the dialogue conversation between the father of the old generation and the old generation itself. You performed this to the notch that I was there in the scene, that I suddenly related it to my father. Okay, my father would have done it with his grandfather. You made everyone do the same. Sometimes even our Toastmasters might have been in that situation. You connected again with the audience. If there is a few suggestions that I would state, what? I totally enjoy the speech. Usually when I evaluate, I look for the critical points. But when I evaluated your speech, I was totally into the speech. That I just had one suggestion. It's my personal opinion. The thing is, you had 3 different sections, but you had only one dialogue conversation for the first part, the arranged marriage. I was expecting, okay, another dialogue is going to come for the second part, another dialogue is going to come for the third part. I was expecting too much, was it? If that would have been there, it was a top-notch humorous speech, a very well executed project. A big round of applause. I'm looking forward for more humorous speeches from you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Arun. We've had a very interesting session today with regard to the number of prepared speeches and evaluations. So I call everyone to vote for your best evaluator right now. Timer, is anyone disqualified?
No.
Everyone, all the evaluators are eligible to vote, so please